So I'm so excited. I had the opportunity to interview each one of these four amazing women, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have all four of them here today. The first one I'm going to start with is Lori Robinson, and maybe Lori, you could just, thank you, Lori. And Lori is with Eric C. Robinson Inc. Farms. Oh, I don't know. I had to reduce all of their bios because they have so much and contribute so much. It was really challenging to reduce it. Lori actually is a farm manager at Eric C. Robinson Inc. in rural Albany. And if you don't know where Albany is, it's just off the bridge when you come off the PEI bridge. So Lori has been in the family agriculture and farming business since, or I guess I should say, Lori's family has been in the agriculture farming business since 1810. Because if I said she was there since 1810, she'd be really old. Lori herself has been in the business for 27 years, and this is her 28th planting season. So she's got a lot of experience. She is one of 6 generations of the owners. So a long, long history there. She studied at the University of Guelph for 8 years. And she also, I guess not the full 8 years, but she also spent quite a few years in research. Her background is in science, agriculture and environmental studies. So she is well positioned to take over the business before she did. She came home at the age of 25, and just 3 months after she arrived home, there was a tragic family accident, and she took on the main role of managing the farm and the family business with the mentorship and support of her grandfather and other family members. So 25. She has an older sister, a younger brother, neither of which had the passion she did for farming the land. And so she kind of took on the lead role in that area of the business. She acquired her interest and passion as a teenager when she would go out with her father to watch things grow. And she also loves to be outside. So the business has continued to grow. It's gone from 100 acres to 3,000 acres by the time it got to the 3rd generation. Okay, the family has diversified from farming potatoes and now operates 5 companies under the family business name. They're involved in sales, which is where her brother has a strong interest and passion for, consulting and our certified crop advisor services, fertilizer, crop protectants, lime, gypsum, customer application. Farming is where Lori's passion and strength is for sure, machinery and farmland rental and storage. So they have number of employees in farming is 50 to 60 on a regular basis, and sometimes can increase up to 100 during busy season. So big operation. There are 5 full-time staff under that are responsible for all of the operations side of the business, not all the operations, but the administrative side of the business. So HR, payroll, any of those things, marketing, those kinds of things. So 2 years ago, they began to diversify their farm production to include soybean, barley, and forage crops, such as grass and grass mixtures, such as hay to sell to dairy farmers. The farm uses crop rotation to make the most use of the land with a focus on increasing healthy environments. And I think that comes from Lori's passion for keeping the environment healthy. And also her science and environmental studies background, I suspect. Their products are exported to Europe, Japan, PEI, the Maritimes, and grocery chains, which you probably see, such as Loblaws and the Superstore. You're probably familiar with some of those products. As a teenager, Lori started spending time with her dad around the farm, where they spent time together watching things grow. She loved being outside. She embraced constant change, which probably makes her a good entrepreneur. And in high school, she had a very, very keen interest in science and math. So you can see how that kind of all led to her to being where she is today, which allowed her to apply her skills to the business side of the farm. It's interesting, I don't know if you've reflected on this, Lori, but to see where your backgrounds kind of mesh with your business. In the 90s, she was often the only female among sometimes 400 men during events. So she's a trailblazer. She's seeing more and more women in her networks today, and she definitely enjoys having other women in her network. She says women worked the farm for years. They might not have been recognized for the work they did, but she's seeing more and more now. She was also PEI's first recipient of the Government of Canada's Women Entrepreneurship Fund. She, in her spare time, is certified level 2 curling coach and has coached the junior teams. She's also chair of the Land Matters Committee, which started last October to look at modernizing and innovation related to all things on the land. She works on a committee of 9 female farmers across PEI to identify ways to engage more women in leadership roles in the industry. And yeah, that's Lori. Wow, hey, and there's a lot more, but I had to cut it back. Okay, so the next panel is Andrea. See if I get this right, Andrea. Kani Shisu. Is that right? Yay! And Andrea owns Tibbs Cosmetics in New Brunswick. And Andrea, this business is located in rural St. Quentin, Restigouche in New Brunswick, where the population is less than 2,000. Andrea is, give or take, right? Andrea is a newcomer, which I love because one of our target audiences is newcomers. We just had 45 women go through some programming on entrepreneurship. And she is always, this always amazes me. She arrived here from Romania, okay, in 2019, so not that long ago, to Canada. Amazing. So less than 1 year ago. Less than 1 year ago, okay? Because she wanted to give her 4-year-old son, Tiblu, which is who the business name is named after, a home where he could thrive and be anything he wanted to be. So herself and her husband spent some time searching for a place to call home. They created a list with the following criteria: better education, health and lifestyle, open-hearted people, and Canada came to the top of the list. No surprises there. Her husband applied for a job on Facebook with Group Savoy, and New Brunswick became their new home. She has a Bachelor of Geology and Natural Science Resources and worked as a geologist in the oil and gas industry in Romania. During university, she took a liking to natural products. So she's always had a passion. So you can see how she brings that to her business. She has continued to have a passion for all things natural and sustainable. The business idea was a natural fit for her. She started mixing recipes and researching natural produce for about 3.5 years before she arrived here. She continued to try and test products that are natural and can be used for single use. Her products are for skin, so she has skincare products, and everything she uses in packaging is environmentally safe and sustainable. There is, this is the core, absolute core of the model. She uses plastic-free products, make sure that they're low on waste and quantity. For example, she has these little heart soaps that can be used on your body that are all natural, and it's used for one time and then, you know, it's done. So, and most of her products are small, so very strongly focused on environmentally safe ingredients. She also uses brown paper instead of any bleaches. Andrea started her business in June 2020 as a sole entrepreneur, just 9 months ago. She's still a newbie, Lori. She works 3 12-hour shifts on the weekends at Group Savai so she can continue to work and grow her business. Her husband encouraged her to just go for it and started her business. It is a common theme for some of the other participants here. Tibbs products include lotion bars, scrubs, face creams, and creams for sensitive skins. Her prime customers are moms, millenniums, and women who are just a little bit older that want to purchase environmentally sustainable products. She started her business when she knew it was her time to do it. She just knew. She said, I just knew it was time. She was new in Canada. She was passionate. She had the skills, and she knew she could bring that to her business. She saw an opportunity where there was not many natural products in the local community and saw that her product could fit. She applied for the startup competition for women in business in New Brunswick and won first place. And her products are now in 6 stores in New Brunswick. All right, so welcome, Andrea. The next panelist is Stella Gale, and Stella is owner of Star Creations in Newfoundland. A small world. I spent a year, anyway, I know where she lives. I spent a year there myself when I was 25, and I know a lot of people in the community, and she's very rural, so loved connecting with her, not to mention she's a Newfoundlander, so that we had that in common. So Stella started as a property manager and worked in residential properties and was in Ontario and was responsible for London, Ottawa, and Kitchener. Her boss was an incredible mentor and supporter of her, and she was able to gain a lot of knowledge and skills and experience from her. She knew how to create budgets. She developed sales strategies and was quickly able to transfer her skills to her business. She also recognized that those skills are easily transferable. She always had a side hustle and a passion in designing and making kids' clothes, and it clearly started after her daughter was born. Her dad was selling his house in Newfoundland and offered it to her. Stella left Ontario and moved to a small, rural, coastal community on the northeast coast of Newfoundland called Wesleyville. And that was 7.5 years ago. Population approximately 1,200. And she didn't have any connections there when she moved. Completely related to her there. Got it, did it, spent a year there. As Andrea says, me too, me too. And if you don't know about Wesleyville, it is very well known for David Blackwood. He's a very famous artist, and also icebergs. I remember seeing icebergs and polar bears. So it is on the northern coast. So just had to throw that in there, Stella, in case anybody was going to come up and visit you. She was working full-time in a job, and this business was her side hustle. 5 years ago, after being laid off, she decided to make a go of it with her husband's encouragement, and she knew it was time. She was driving back from Gander. Gander's about an hour and a half drive so that she could go pick up supplies, an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half to get back over sometimes not the great roads, especially in winter, because I've been there, done that. And she realized that just going to get the supplies was costing her money. So she was actually working for nothing. So she decided it was time, and her husband encouraged her to do that. She's currently a sole entrepreneur. However, pre-COVID, she had 2 full-time employees, including herself. Her retail products include craft and supplies, kits. Pinterest has been very good for her business, where young people and women go to Pinterest and look at ideas to do things, and then they come in and buy all their products from her shop. She sells fabric, yarn, PPE supplies, and also designs and makes costumes for everything from figure skating to theater to, I guess, she sounds like she has a very creative streak in her. Her markets are local with an interest in care. So a lot in Newfoundland, it's all about carrying on traditions like knitting, quilting, crafts. You see a lot of people come in for that. Young kids, she's saying young kids come in with an interest in making money. She had one young entrepreneur that came in and wanted to sell dog scarves to make money, and you know, upcoming entrepreneurs. She's also an international authorized dealer and supplier on Amazon. Yay. Growth, she's a growth entrepreneur. She's doubled her retail space. On Laugh, she's taken over every closet in the area. And it helps that she has a handy husband that is exceptional at renovations. I always say Newfoundland, any man in Newfoundland could put a nurse in a cat. That's one of my favorite sayings. She's diversified her business model. So, you know, you can tell she's a real entrepreneur. She works in a center where there's multi businesses there. So as another side hustle, there's a fitness center. So she manages memberships and the gym access to next door. So, and did I mention she's also authorized supplier for Amazon? She has a mix of customers, but mostly women, seniors, retired women who have hobbies. That's where I learned how to sew, bought my first sewing machine in Wesleyville. And the woman I stayed with, she owned a similar shop as Stella. So that's where I learned how to sew. Still have the same sewing machine. Younger generations are still interested in taking on the family traditions and making money or starting a new hobby. She has been nominated for Small Business Awards by the Gander Chamber of Commerce, and she has her nominations and proudly frames her nominations on her wall. Most recently, the Small Business Women in Business Award. So welcome, Stella. Thank you. We have Avila Cotino. Did I say that right? Yes. 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 So I left out the H. So Avila is, again, another amazing woman. She retired from the Bank of Nova Scotia in 2018, where she worked as a financial planner. Her retirement dream was to own a condo in Halifax, and her husband wanted a hobby farm. So I wonder who won. She's been married 40 years, and 13 years ago they moved to Windsor after her husband took a job with the town, and she really missed Halifax. On July 2nd, her son asked her and her husband if they wanted to be part of a winery business. They discussed the opportunity as a family, and she saw this could kind of fit with her interest. She could learn about the business and travel to the other wineries, meeting her need and passion for learning and travel. Avila's family bought the Avondale Sky Winery and Restaurant just 1.5 years ago. She is new to the business and also a newbie. And she and her family continues to learn daily about the business. The winery is located in rural Nova Scotia in Newport Landing and Avondale, population 500. They have 21 employees and 6 family members, all of who are actively involved in the operational side of the business. There's a great story, go to our website, about the church, which is floated down the Walton River and brought to the land, and that's where the restaurant and the winery exists right now. Tremendous story about that whole, how it was brought to the land. And there's a winery and restaurant. If you ever get a chance, go. I've been there. What she liked about living in rural Nova Scotia, she said there was no traffic, there was no stress, and that was all removed when she moved there. Every morning she walks the vineyard, and then herself and her husband go out to the fields to work with the staff, and they love every single day. She feels blessed to be working with her children, who each have their strength and are able to apply them to the business side of the operation. If they were to work elsewhere, she said she wouldn't have the opportunity to see how they work. She feels she's living a dream and could not be happier now that she started her second career in retirement. She has asked her husband to pinch her on occasion. Products, so she sells experiences for wine tasting and tours, wine harvesting experiences. They have 32 different wines, and each one has a story behind their name. Some are tied to the church and others to the community in which they live. So for example, Benedictions, Nirvana, they have a restaurant and sell food and offer pairings as well too. They have 5 wines that are on the NSLC shelf. Please check it out. I buy them all the time. Avondale Sky Wineries. Her customers are all women, mostly women. And we had a great discussion about that. Some couples come to like to come and hang out on the restaurant and come for a day trip and enjoy a glass of wine while they look out at the winery, but it's the women that have the most fun. And it's all about the wine. The women love to have fun, and they love to connect. They love to laugh. It's all about the experience, and they also love to celebrate and boost each other. She sees that often with women, so it's a real gift to be able to see those women having such a great time. They've received numerous awards in the last year. They've won awards at the Wine Fest, at the World Trade, and most popular wines. So check out Avondale Sky. So that is my introduction to these lovely women. I'm going to start with the panel discussion, and I will ask each one of you a question. I'll start with Lori, and just answer how you like. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what would be the top 3 priority actions and or motivational factors that led you from business idea to actually becoming a woman?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came out in kind of the introduction, where I said I had this like tremendous love of science and watching things grow from seed to kind of seeing it in the stores. And I like to be outdoors, and one of the other big things was getting the chance to work with my family and a long history and legacy somewhat of agriculture and PEI since the 1810s and 1810. And then what I found most interesting is that every generation has kind of put a stamp on sort of the Robinson business. And so we sort of took the business from my dad and his brother, my uncle, and have 6 present day owners. And we've sort of taken the business and expanded it kind of vertically, including other businesses of sort of side business, all the things that other farmers need to purchase: fertilizer, seed, crop protection, those types of things. So we've kind of I kind of see myself, our generation as entrepreneurs, as expanding the businesses and seeing where we can take them sort of into the future.
Wow. I'm sure you could write a history book on it. Interesting, because you could see how it evolved over time, but also the environmentally, the sustainability over time. It's really interesting, Laurie. Thank you. Andrea, what 3 priority actions and or motivational factors that led you from business idea to women business owner? So I always say, what were the 3 actions that kind of led you to that? What, you know, when you look back and say, what were those things that kind of said, okay, I'm ready?
Well, first of all, it was around March 2020 when the pandemic started worldwide, and I said to myself, okay, different times, okay, so we have to adapt. So I said, what I love to do, skincare. And then I saw the opportunity, I just took it. I said, it's now or never. If I'm not gonna make it in a pandemic time, it's never meant to be, right? So that was one. The second one, I said, hey, come on, it's my dream job. I'm on my own boss. I do my schedules. I choose the decisions. But the best part of it, besides the profits, besides the products, is the opportunity to do something more. Like you have a purpose that is beyond material. You can inspire people to take action. You can lead the way. You can show people how to do stuff. There are alternatives that you can choose. And I believe that if you want to build a future for the future generations, you have to help others to do that. And also let yourself to be helped. So it's about also giving back to the community something. So the thing that you can do as a business owner, if you can do that, that's the ultimate thing that you're gonna get back. Is like a satisfaction that your purpose is beyond the product itself. You do something for the greater good, and that's really, really awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much.
Next, Stella. So priority actions and motivational factors that kind of led you from having that little idea to saying, okay, I'm going to go for it.
That question actually required some thought when I saw it, because for me it was more of a spur of the moment decision. It was, there's a need here and I'm going to do something about it. But on thinking back, I guess it was the opportunity to do something that I enjoy. I was looking for another employment opportunity, so it presented itself as, well, if I do this, I'll have a job that I enjoy, and again, be my own boss, the similar idea, and be able to just fill a need that was in the area. I think was the main focus for it. There was more than just me here that was traveling to Gander to get supplies. So I knew there was a need, I just didn't know how big it was.
Wow. So you saw that opportunity.
So 5 years later, we keep growing. Yeah.
Wow.
It was the same concept. It was like a now or never. I was doing it. I started on a part-time basis just to kind of get a feel for it, and it's just taken off.
Wow. Interesting. Great. I think maybe you and Andrea have had a similar experience. You're a little further along than Andrea. Avila, what would you say led you from being a business idea to business owner, and what priority actions would you recommend or take that you took?
So you've covered most of it in the introduction, but as Laurie said, it was the opportunity to work with my family. You know, we as parents bring up kids, and then they go out in their own world and do stuff, or our world, but they go. But this is an opportunity to see their strengths and what we've, you know, invested in them, in their education, in their personalities, etc. So that was definitely one of the motivating factors. The second one was buying an existing business. So we weren't starting up. It was one that was well known already. Avondale Sky was is an established winery. The story behind the church being floated down the river adds to its international impact. And the third thing is making that little community of Avondale that is absolutely beautiful, just as beautiful as the rest of Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland, but it's our little heaven. So having said that, there was no thinking twice about jumping at that opportunity.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that. And what a gift, right? To be able to have your
and in a growing industry in Nova Scotia.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that. The next question I want to ask you, and this is really about, you know, we have a lot of people who are on the line today and they're interested in hearing what you have to say. And I always keep everything the 3 because we can't remember everything. I'm getting worse as I get older. But what 3 pieces of advice would you give to your younger self, or when you started out? Well, you know, when you reflect back, what advice would you give yourself now, or the people who are online joining us today, if they were to start a business today? So I'm going to start with Lori.
First one would be make sure you surround yourself with people that you trust and not just people that you like. Sometimes people that you like won't tell you the hard truth when you need to hear it. So they're encouraging, but you also need people to tell you the hard truths. Probably the best lesson I learned from my father in the very short amount of time that we did get to spend together was no matter what your position is in a company, no job is too small. So you don't get respect by being, you earn respect by doing. And I would say the final one is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because sometimes I think some of my best lessons have come from making a mistake and realizing I made a mistake and taking the steps in order to right those mistakes and not make them again.
Wow, that's some really good, 3 really good messages. Thank you so much, Lori. That's really good. Andrea.
This is a fun exercise, so I have to have a conversation with myself back 1 year and a half, 9 months ago. So what I would tell to me, it like this: girl, you have to follow your instinct. That first thought that comes into your mind, that's the perfect one. To develop this idea, I'm gonna make you a suggestion. There's a book written by Simon Sinek, Leaders Eats Last. Listen to it or read it. It's gonna explain all of this follow your instinct sentence. The next one would be less is more. And why do I tell this? Because at the beginning you start and you want to invest money in this and the shipping and boxes and all kind of stuff and develop ideas. But at the end, you're going to see that you don't need all of it. You just need to regroup, do a research marketing on your customer, ask what they want, and then you can invest the money in the right places, not spend all over the money all over the place. And the third one, I would say to myself, girl, you got this. I believe in you. Because we don't give enough credit. When we have the ideas and we want to develop or we want to open the business, we say, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe we kind of have the second thought. Don't. You have to trust yourself. So you got this.
Wow.
That would be the 3.
Oh, thank you. There's another 3 great messages. Wow, thank you. Stella?
I think I'm going to let Andrea answer my questions because we have a lot of the similar ideas and concepts here. I would also say the same thing. Follow your dreams, do what you want to do. I think for me personally, going back, I probably would do a little more homework than what I actually did before I started. Learn a little bit more about what actually was involved, what was required, and all that fun stuff, because it's a great idea, but learning lessons after the fact is not always fun. So I think I would do a little more homework. And one important lesson that I learned was to take time for yourself. As a business owner, as a woman, whatever the case is, we tend to pour everything we have into what we're doing. And it can very easily lead to burnout. So I think it's very important that even though you have to dedicate yourself to your business venture, you still have to make time for yourself personally. And that's something that it was a lesson learned the hard way.
Wow, those great messages. Thank you. And finally, Avila, what would you say well, you're still new into the business, but give us your 3 pieces of advice to your younger self.
Yeah. So I would say, take the opportunity to learn whatever you can, learn something every day. It just expands the enthusiasm you have for life and keeps the gray matter working. So that would be number 1 for definite. Secondly, surround yourself with talent or people. So a business sometimes has one leader, but it has a whole bunch of people that is part of the support group, people who are as passionate about seeing you succeed, whether it is the CWB, anyone around you that will help you succeed. And thirdly, look at having fun. Yeah, you'll make mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes. That's what life is all about. Pick yourself up and keep going, looking forward. That to me is my 3. There's lots of advice, but those are the 3 main points to make life exciting.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. That was, again, all of those messages are very, very clear and helpful. The next question I'm going to ask is, what supports did you use or tap into to help you overcome any challenges you had along the way? So I'll start with you, Lori.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, like say, losing my dad just so shortly after I came home from Ontario and started into the business. I mean, some of my biggest challenges were like, I really had no idea what I was doing. He was meant to be the person to teach me, how to farm. And, I went to university and I learned how to, to think critically and solve problems. But I mean, as far as, what variety and what field, that kind of stuff, like I really knew nothing. And 3 months later, it was kind of like, now what am I supposed to do? So I thankfully had a very kind of supportive family and had to rely heavily on like the staff that had been there for a really long time. And other fellow farmers who reached out and said, we'll help you out however we can. Like, you ask us as many questions as you need to. So for me in the beginning, like it was really important for me to have that kind of, let's call it emotional support. But I can see over time, over the last 27 years, where, there's a lot more business supports out there for, for women who are like trying to start a new business, or, I'm familiar with the, the workings of NPEI, like with PEIBWA and with the Rural Business Women's Center, that the type of programming that they do for people that are, have very like new ideas, like incubation programs, be able to help you to kind of tap into what type of funding is available, those types of things. Now I find women in agriculture, like we have our own kind of support groups on social media where we all kind of chime in with, oh geez, like I can't find like a really great pair of coveralls to wear. Like, where are people buying their coveralls? So now I find that people are, supportive groups of kind of towards our sector in agriculture. And so I find those types of things and realizing that there's lots of other women out there kind of with the same, like, oh, I can't find this or I can't find that, or just to be supportive. And we're kind of seen as sort of the invisible gender in agriculture, but it is becoming more visible. And I think I find that more women are kind of teaming up and relying on their fellow women farmers to kind of help them through some issues. So.
Wow, that's good to hear. Good to see. Yeah, for sure. Andrea, so what kind of supports do you tap in to help you overcome any of the challenges you faced along the way?
So my biggest support came from my family, especially my husband. I'm going to give you a recent example. So he's working at the mill as I am. Actually, this is my last week. I just quit my job and I'm going to focus full time on my business. Yes. Bold decision, I know, but I have to do it. I follow my gut. And recently I signed up at the beginning of this year for a marketing academy from Marketing on Purpose with PEIBWA, and she's awesome. And it's a full year. Every week we do something, we learn something new, so it's exciting. Thank you, Bernice. And also, I got a lot of homework, and because I was working in the weekends and I had to do the stuff in the week for the business, I kind of fall behind. And I talked to my husband. I was really down. I was really having a bad time. I was behind with my homework with four weeks, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna take 2 weeks off from my work. I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna take care of our son. I'm gonna take care of everything. You just have to do it. Eat, sleep as you need, as much as you need, and focus on your business. 2 weeks, I was on holiday. Ladies, I'm telling you, I was on holiday. And I did, in 1 week, I finished the homework for the full 4 weeks. So I was on fire, and my teacher, she was like, wow, I cannot keep it up with you. That was amazing. So my biggest support comes from my family. Second of all, it comes from the women in business, New Brunswick, because they got a lot of cool programs that you can apply, and workshops, and also the coffee talks are great. And also from CBDC, from Camelton, they have a great team there, and they really helped me a lot. All the questions that I got the answers, and they are really helpful. And thank you so much for that, to all of you.
Wow, yes. Great. Oh, I think you're having a good transition here. Stella, if we could reach more people like you, Andrea, it'd be great. Stella, do you want to give us your answer? So what supports do you tap into to help you kind of overcome or face any challenges along the way?
Definitely my mom. She's always been a sounding board, and encourager and believer. So she's a big force behind it. As have my family and friends all supported this venture and encouraged me and picked me up when it's been rough going. The local organizations like NLOWE and the Gander Area Chamber of Commerce, the resources they provide are phenomenal. CBDC, again, with funding opportunities and events and networking that you learn as you go. Suppliers as well. When I first started, I didn't have a lot of knowledge of what the basics were that I needed to carry. I knew what I needed, but there's other crafts and other things that I wasn't sure of. So just learning to ask questions with suppliers, and they were tremendously helpful. So that was an unexpected bonus there as well. And other women business owners, they've been encouraging, they've been supportive, shared experiences. And I think the network that we're building there is phenomenal. I think we're learning along the way that we can accomplish more by being partners than we can by being competitors. And that's a valuable lesson I've learned is I can't do everything, and I never will be able to do everything. But if we partner up, we can definitely offer a lot more services and just all be better at what we're planning to do.
Wow, that's great. Thank you, Stella. Great messages. Avila, what do you tap in to help you overcome? Oh, that sound like you got it pretty good there.
Well, in my case, it was friends and colleagues in the industry, the winery industry, vineyards, because we have some vineyards that will supply to wineries. So just getting information from them, chatting with them, they are all very helpful. The winery industry in Nova Scotia is one of a kind. We really believe that rising tides float all ships, which is so important. So we are not looking at it as being competitive. We are looking at it as floating everyone up as high as possible. It's amazing. People around the world would do anything to be in our shoes. I have spoken to people across, well, on the West Coast as well as Niagara, and they don't have the same feeling. So we are very fortunate. Maybe it's something to do with Nova Scotians, or maybe it's just Atlantic Canadians, you know, who are that supportive of each other. So that's one thing. The next thing is, of course, surrounding ourselves with the right lawyers and accountants to be there as guidance, to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and everything looks good. And then, depending on family. I don't want to sound like a mother who's bragging about her kids, but you know, my oldest son, who's the president of the company, I can't believe how strong he is and where he gets his strength from. It's just heartwarming for me to see that. And even if I feel like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that, he will bring it in real dollars and cents and makes me realize that, Mom, you're out at a tangent. This is where we need to look at. This is more modern. And it's totally amazing. I'm sorry, I'm going to not say any more about that son of mine, but he is amazing. So that's where I get, you know, advice, strength, and CBDC has been absolutely fabulous in Windsor. We started out in January. No, actually, I signed up for courses with them before we even could divulge what business we were buying. And it was excellent. Now that they've moved to online, it's even better because I don't even have to dress to go for their courses. I can be in my PJs and take the wealth of information that they share with us. So yeah, I can't thank places like that.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Thank you, Avila. So the next question I'm going to ask to our panelists is, where do you see opportunities for women interested in starting a business in rural Atlantic Canada? So maybe I could start with you,
Denise.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Our time's up. We've got 1 minute left.
Oh my God.
Time flies when you're having fun. Hey.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong time. Sorry. Okay. So I'm gonna, sorry, I went over. Is there anything, I'm just gonna go to the chat and see if there's any questions. Would you like to stay for a little while longer? I'm not sure if we can. Is that possible? Oh my gosh, there's so much in here.
It's certainly possible on our end. I'm not sure if your panelists have a bit of time to stick around for some questions. Are we good? Perfect. Okay. So maybe people can put some questions in the chat box, and we'll filter them to the panelists.
Yes. So I think I only have one more question. Oh, no, I wouldn't mind asking the question on opportunities in rural Atlantic Canada. I would like to hear that. Next question, because I think the opportunities exist sometimes and we don't see them for ourselves. And if you could share, I'll start with Lori. If you have anything that you want to share with this audience about if they're considering or looking at opportunities in rural Atlantic Canada, what do you see any right now that might exist or where those opportunities might be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, within a 5-kilometer radius of being like literally in the middle of a field where I'm sitting in our building right now, next door to us, a food manufacturing company opened up 3 years ago, the Ham Pie Company. On the other side of us, there's a distillery opening up. Somebody moved here from Ontario, both women-led and owned businesses. 3 kilometers away, there's a recreation place that opened that have like the tree pods, like out in the domes, out in the trees, and in the winter, they rent them out and they have snowshoe trails, and they also have like hiking trails, and they're not that far from the Confederation Trail. I go a little bit towards Summerside, and there's an artisan that opened up with a studio and another place for artisans to sell their wares. So, I mean, there's arts, there's crafts, there's recreation, there's food, there's distillery. I think there's a whole host of opportunities out there. Things that I need as services, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, those types of things. There's 2 women that opened their own carpentry place just 2 or 3 years ago with a little startup money from another local business run by women. And I just think there's so many opportunities for what we need for services. So I think you look at what do I need as a business owner, and what are some of the other things that are being built around me. I think there's lots of opportunity.
Wow, that's fantastic advice. Thank you for sharing that. Andrea, do you see any opportunities in your rural area for other women to start a business?
First of all, you have to start with the basics. And when I say basic, I mean food, the diversity, the bigger diversity, the better for the customer. So you can each day for your lunch, you can choose from a different place to eat, and you can encourage the local development. Also in the outdoor activities, and not just the snowmobile or the rest, but also you can do some yoga activities and meditation and hikings and all kind of cool stuff. Also for the winter and also for the summer. And also where I would I actually see a need in that is a business that could support other women in growing their dreams and achieve their dreams, like to encourage it in a sort of way, because that's what I believe that we kind of miss, the encouragement. We need that and the tools. Yep.
Thank you. Stella?
I think Lori nailed it when she basically listed that the possibilities are endless. I think there's always business opportunities for women. And since COVID has pushed so much online, e-commerce is basically made the world open to you. You can start your business from any remote or rural area and become national or international. I was just doing a quick count of women-owned businesses in this area. And when I say this area, I kind of went 20 minutes in either direction of where I am. And off the top of my head, I was able to come out with 15 women-owned businesses just in this region. So I think the presence of women-owned businesses is definitely getting stronger, but there's always more possibilities. And I don't think being in rural Newfoundland or rural anywhere in, a rural or remote should stop anyone or make them stop and think that maybe it's not the right place. I think you should just go for it.
That's a great message. Thank you. Avila?
In my area, I would say there are lots of opportunities. Some women are looking at those opportunities, which is great. For instance, I love yoga in the vineyard. I'm sorry. It's absolutely peaceful. It's absolutely blissful after the bottle of wine called bliss. But nonetheless, it is just, so we have women who are going to do yoga classes, are thinking of doing yoga classes in the vineyard. Things like which otherwise they would have to drive into Windsor for a yoga class. So there are things like that. Another one that I was really amazed was, I also belong to FarmWorks, which is a local CDF, community development fund. And it's amazing what the women there think of. There's one who came from Ontario who's actually moving things, the farm goods that would not be sold at a farm market because they don't meet certain standards, taking them because they may be just ugly looking carrots or ugly looking tomatoes or whatever. Instead of letting that go waste, she's carting or transporting that to a food processing plant, as opposed to farmers having to take the time off to go deliver that. She's just collecting it from a whole bunch of farmers and doing that. To me, that's needed. In my area, what I would really like to see is more tourism. So I'm looking at pairing up with other farmers in the area, cattle farmers, vegetable farmers, and get them so that it's a whole day of touring around beautiful Avondale and spending time with the farmers, especially with people who are in the city who have no idea what farm life is all about. And I think it's so relaxing because they are on a treadmill. Even with COVID, they are on a treadmill. It's taking them out from that treadmill and bringing them to see how beautiful the place can be, how beautiful it is to be in rural Nova Scotia. And so we need more smaller tour groups so people get a chance to see what it is like being in the farms there.
Thank you, Avila. That's great. I do have a question from Natasha Watkins. Natasha asks, what were some of your biggest challenges with the pandemic? Avila, I'm hoping to open a tourism business. Did you find that the past year was hard because of the travel restrictions?
So let me put it this way. When March rolled around, we kind of shook our heads and said, oh boy, what have we got into? But it didn't last long. So yes, we were able to move onto online, which was fabulous. But from a tourism point of view, because as soon as the Atlantic bubble opened, it was unbelievable the number of people that came from the other 3 provinces to our winery. So there is still a lot of room for tourists, even within Nova Scotia. What COVID allowed us to do was to travel around our own province and find the little nooks and corners that are so beautiful, are breathtakingly beautiful. So don't worry that, COVID, it gives you a chance to step back and refocus, regroup, and think of what you need to do. But there is still so much that in tourism, and hey, be ready for when that bubble totally opens, you're going to be totally run over with tourists, because we are all just dying to get around. To me, it's pent up energy right now. Just wait for it. So just keep planning on that. Yeah, they may be a step back, but that's the time to regroup.
Excellent. Thank you, Avila. I just want to say the tourism in Nova Scotia here has been tremendously growing, especially in rural areas. We're seeing businesses like you cannot get any place to stay right now in rural anywhere here because people are just wanting to get away. So it is an opportunity if you're looking. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you, all of you, for taking the time out of your day and your schedule to join us today. I really appreciate you sharing your stories, your challenges, and giving advice to our audience here. It is really appreciated, and I enjoyed getting to know each one of you.